Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank weekend preview brought to you by First NBC Bank with 35 locations throughout southeast Louisiana and into the Florida Panhandle. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. The New Orleans Saints made the safe, solid, smart choice in picking a guy that everybody had projected them to take. I mean, not everybody, but most people, both nationally and locally, as I wrote at SportsNola.com. No real drama here with Rankins. He's a guy that kind of checks all the boxes, Lenny. High motor, good practice player, plays whistle to whistle, athletic, quick, strong, captain, no problems off the field, low-key, soft-spoken, lets his actions speak for his words. What else do you want?
Well, I guess the one bad thing
he fills a need.
He grew up a Falcons fan.
That's right. I said that.
Yeah. That's about the only negative you could put on his resume at this point. It was boring.
Yes.
They didn't trade
and that's
up.
good.
They didn't trade down, and they picked who you expected them to pick. It was almost boring. And, from that standpoint, boring is good. There's nothing wrong with that. And, a lot of times we've seen the unexpected when it comes to the Saints on draft day sometimes through no fault of their own, whether it's Reggie Bush landing in their lap in 2006 unexpectedly, or it's, last year just going with what seemed like a safe pick in their mind, and Andres Pete, picking on down the line, whatever the case may be. But this was just, from a Saints perspective, boring. There were a lot of other things going on out there. Now, it could have gotten interesting. Perhaps, the Bucs traded back 2 picks with picking right in front of them. Had they not taken Vernon Hargreaves, I really think, if you read between the lines in Sean Payton's comments after the first round last night, I think Hargreaves was very much in play for the 12th pick if he had slipped down to New Orleans. But it didn't happen that way. So, look, I think you got the right guy at the end of the day. You've got a guy. You talk about defense, especially trying to defend the pass. Well, there's 2 elements of trying to defend the pass. One, it's getting guys that can actually get out there and cover. But 2 is being able to generate a pass rush. And you do that through 2 ways. And this guy can get you some inside push, which the Saints really haven't had a lot of probably since, Leroy Glover, in terms of trying to generate an interior pass rush. So that's, if he truly is what he is and can play that way, then that's a big get for the Saints.
Yeah, Cedric Ellis had 1 or 2 decent years, but that was pretty much it from that particular spot. You're right, Leroy Glover. Interesting that you mentioned his name because this guy's a similar animal. He's slightly heavier than Glover, maybe about 10, 15 pounds, but similar height and similar characteristics. High motor and very quick off the snap.
And you've got to have that, especially when you're playing. He could play anywhere from, between the 2 guards, from guard to guard, whether he's shading, whether he's right on the nose, whether he's off the shoulder of a guard. You get into all the 3 technique and the 0 and shade, all the different technical terms that they use. But basically, that's what you're talking about, playing somewhere between the guards. He's also a guy who's not so big and not so slow that he can't get outside and line up on an edge and try to do some things as well and try to overmatch some players out there. So he's a very flexible guy, and that will certainly play well in Dennis Allen's defense.
Agreed. Of course, the second day continuing Friday and then wraps up on Saturday, and the Saints have picks in all but 1 round unless they make a move, so stay tuned. I think their primary needs are very obvious at this point. Guard is an absolute primary need. Wide receiver is a definite need. I think those are the 2 spots to keep an eye on. Otherwise, a defensive back, a corner or a safety certainly would have to be in play. When you take a look at college baseball, it wasn't a good night for LSU. Lost 2 runners at the plate, got a runner picked off, lost by a run, and those things make a difference in those situations. But again, their Friday night pitching wasn't good enough.
No, and look, the way the SEC does things, moving a couple of series up a week to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it does kind of mess with things. You get in a rhythm. So many of these guys, when you're playing every Friday and you're pitching every 7 days, and all of a sudden you throw that off by a day, doesn't seem like much to me and you, but it can alter your routine. And very simply last night, just didn't have it. So, then again, neither did the Ole Miss guy, but the Ole Miss bullpen was better than the LSU bullpen at the end of the day. That's what it really came down to. And you mentioned the center fielder with a couple of huge plays, throwing the runner out at the plate, the potential tying run in the 8th inning. Look, it was an entertaining game as you flip back and forth between that and the draft. LSU's got to get off the deck and find a way to win at least 1, if not 2, of these last 2 games. Weather could be a factor Friday night, by the way.
Tulane has won 5 in a row. UNO has won 6 in a row. So those are really encouraging as they head into their weekend series.
Yeah, and Tulane with Houston. Houston has been the disappointment, if you will, in the American Athletic Conference this year. A lot of people had them picked in the top 10. They're in a struggle even just to make the NCAA tournament, I would think, at this point. Tulane's got to play them 6 times in the next 4 weeks. That's the way their league sets up, and at your geographic rival, you play home and home. So to balance out the schedule, because there's only 8 teams in the American that play baseball. As far as UNO is concerned, look, they've got to do some things. The big thing UNO has to do is continue to win conference games. They've got to move their way up. Their RPI is very attractive, but when you're in a league like the Southland, it would take a regular season title or very close to that to put yourself in a position to be in the at-large conversation. And look, they've got the RPI to do it if they can get there. You just got to keep winning, and a very big series coming up in a couple of weeks for them against Southeastern.
Delgado continues its quote-unquote World Series with Baton Rouge Community College up 2-0.
Yeah, Saturday in New Orleans at Kirsch Rooney, Sunday in Baton Rouge. Have a chance to wrap it up. It's the last 3 games would be played at 5, 6, and 7, all if necessary, would be played at Zephyr Field at a neutral site. But Delgado's got a chance to wrap it up this weekend, and I'm sure Joe Sherman's club would like to do that.
High school softball Fast Pitch 56 tournament underway in Sulphur at Frash Park Friday. 3 teams from our area, from New Orleans area districts, are there. Cabrini in 4A, Lutcher in 3A, Archbishop Hannon in 2A. And, of course, you can follow sportsnola.com for their results and stories. And, of course, the high school baseball playoffs continuing. And you can follow sportsnola.com there as well for all the results. Plus, you'll have a chance to watch the Jesuit Trahan series originating from John Ryan Stadium beginning at 6 p.m. Friday night, live at Sports NOLA.
Should be fun. The 2 local teams in 5A that get together this weekend, 6 o'clock Friday, 11 o'clock on Saturday. The if necessary game would be at 4 o'clock on Saturday. So, a lot of other games involving Southeast Louisiana teams, Riverside and Newman, getting together this weekend in reserve. That is a best-of-3 series. The best-of-3 format in the second and third rounds of the high school baseball playoffs has trickled all the way down to the 2A level this year. Got a lot of other teams at home as well this weekend with a chance to try to move on to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, keep an eye on St. Thomas Aquinas and St. Charles Catholic, the 1 and 2 seeds in Class 2A. And, of course, the other local series, Brother Martin hosting Sanoma. You can listen to that one live on radio on WGSO 990 AM Friday night, and also on Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. And should you get to a third and deciding game, keep an eye on sportsnova.com, because we will bring you the third and final game of one of the 2 series, either Jesuit Destrehan or Brother Martin against Sanoma.
Yeah, stay tuned. That's the best thing we could tell you.
There you go. All right. With regard to golf, the Zurich Classic, finally, as we close, we say maybe the best for last. The worst of days of sorts, because you had a nearly 5-hour rain delay. Fortunately, a lot of guys were able to finish their rounds. A relative unknown, the leader at 8 under par, but you have some big names that are stacked in there pretty well. Justin Rose had only played 6 holes, 1 under par, the defending champion, but Jason Day at 69, Ricky Fowler at 68. So you got some good names positioned. But Lenny, with the wet conditions, and if the wind doesn't blow, last year it took 22 under par. I'm thinking it might take 25 this year to win.
Well, I think a lot of it depends on this. How wet does it get? If they continue to play the ball down, as they did after the delay on Thursday, if they're able to continue to do that, that will probably keep the scores somewhere below that. You're not going to get the roll. Granted, you're going to be able to fire at pins because the greens are going to be soft, but it's going to cut down on your distance, so you'll be playing longer shots into the green. If they end up going to lift clean in place, then all bets are off. Of course, record could be in play at that point. So it's that changes the whole dynamic of things.
Keep it all at sportsnola.com to get all the information on these events. And as always, we'll present it to you in the best possible fashion. Lenny, have a great weekend.
All right, we'll see you Monday.
That's our First NBC Bank weekend preview, brought to you by First NBC Bank, with 35 locations throughout the metropolitan New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of sportsnola.com. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. Have a great weekend, and God bless you.